You're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network of podcasts.
Hello and welcome to... Oh, jeez, oh, Pete's. Hello and welcome to Geekcast Radio's unofficial flagship podcast, Altered Geek Unlimited, episode 12. I am your host, Michael Powers. I am joined, as always, by Steve Megatron Phillips.
Hello, hello, hello.
I am back.
Yes.
Some stuff happened, had to reshuffle the schedule around. Wasn't sure what I was going to be able to do for the network. Wasn't sure what I wasn't going to be able to do for the network. Luckily, that has run its course, and I'm back. So I did listen to half of the episode last week, and I think Dan did a fine job sitting in my chair. Although I don't want to, I'm not. I told him on M-Wire that I'm not giving up my spot. But no, thank you, Dan, for filling in for me, as on such quote unquote short notice.
Yes.
But I did enjoy the tech talk. I was kind of bummed that I missed out on that because I love to talk about that stuff. I don't want to repeat too much stuff here. I got about halfway through the show. I think I got busy again with my life right about the time that you guys started talking about the books that you were reading in Tom Clancy. Yeah. So we're back. It's Steve and I again. We've got a couple of announcements, news. Steve, if you want to share about the top 100, what the status of that is.
Yes. The top 100 animated film countdown. Sorry, that's kind of a mouthful sometimes. I'm still getting used to saying it, even though I did the intro stuff for it.
How many takes did that take you?
Yeah, that's already underway. What's that?
I know. I said how many takes did that take you?
I would say 10 because I wasn't satisfied with how my voice was turning out during the record for the intro. Because for those that don't know the original Geekcast Radio sound, or at least intro would say, you're listening to Geekcast Radio on geekcastradio.com, and I would go in a really deep voice like that, and then I would put it on Audacity and kind of knock the pitch down.
Okay.
To deepen it further. Well, I was not able to replicate that as well as I did on the previous top 100 because I haven't done it in a while. So it took me about 10, 12 takes to get it exactly where I liked it again. And then finally, once I got it where I liked it, I was able to do that and then add the effects, and I got back in the echo thing that I liked that I did in the last top 100. Of course, new background music to it. But, yeah, so I got that episode with your help edited because Skype was foobarring the entire record between various hosts. So the intro episode of that will go up actually couple hours after this episode has aired. So it'll tell the rules, it'll tell what to expect from this top 100 compared to the last top 100. So, and then there'll be a couple week gap between this episode and of the top 100 before the next one airs, just to kind of create a little buffer so that everybody gets to hear it first, and that way we also, because we have one of our members moving, and we have one of the other guys that may have a work conflict next week, so it's kind of it gives us that extra week to play around with. So,
all right. No, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to helping out with that where I can. We've had conversations behind the scenes, so that will be unfolding nicely, I hope. Off the Cuff is still taking submissions for the 7th Generation Console Awards. Every post on Geekcast Radio for Off the Cuff has the category list, and we would just like you to post 3 nominees for each one, and then Danner from Off the Cuff is tabulating everyone's votes, and we're sharing in it to make it everyone's awards instead of just the 4 of us deciding what we think is the best. We're trying to get as many people as we can to help out, to pitch in and help out with that. And that's a pilot program to get people to help out picking out the Game of the Year award. So again, not just 5 people, 5 douchebags sitting in a room deciding what might have been the best game of the year. Even though I might just pull my hand and say it was Gone Home because that was the best game I played this year and it's my show. So, but no, it's a trial thing, and it's also a way to get you guys to feel like you're a part of the show, as Steve and I try to do here on Altered Geek. We're just trying to keep you guys coming back for more, and hope you're enjoying all the content we're providing. We've made significant changes in the last 2 months, I think, at least, and I think for the better of everything. But do you have anything else you want to add here before we get into the news?
Just besides that, a lot of different things kind of going on behind the scenes to improve the amount of ability for everybody to interact and fun things project-wise that will like our own, and I'll kind of tease it, but I won't give away any kind of information of how it's going to work because we're still planning this so that we can get it right when it gets released. But we're going to be doing our own award show. But I'm not going to give any more information about what it is about or how it functions because, again, we're still working that out.
Right. I think the thing, besides the awards, setting up the awards and stuff like that, I think the thing that has me most excited, which has been teased a couple of times, I believe, is the trying to get all the ducks to line up in a row for the GCRN Christmas party. Because I think that's going to be an amazing mess of a show.
I think so too. And I definitely want that to be a Google Hangout where we can just kind of shoot the shit with everybody and just make it kind of a free-for-all and not only a year-end show but just way for people to interact live.
All right. So, okay, enough about the boring
behind the scenes
stuff of of podcasting and what we're doing for the listeners at Geekcast Radio. What they came here for our take on geek news for the week.
Yes, they did. So,
what do we got for them?
Well, I found this article about it was on I'm trying to think of the site. USA Today earlier, and it's Mr. Peabody and Sherman, the time traveling team, which I'm very excited to see how this turns out. It is going to be in theater on March 7th, I believe it says, and it's a new 3D animated film where I think they actually get it to look pretty close as far as the characters are concerned, but update all the tech that's in the show because obviously it was made in the 60s.
Right.
I remember watching this as a kid, or along with Rocky and Bullwinkle and everything else because they are from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. But it's always been kind of interesting because you have that dog that adopted a kid. And he does time traveling stuff to teach him history. So this I'm excited for, but DreamWorks has their hands on it, which that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, not recently.
Not recently. They have done some good films. They've certainly been kind of beating Pixar lately, so that's kind of showing you. I just hope that they're able to capture the dynamic of the characters from the 60s, but I mean, still, make them a little bit more up to date, but not bastardize them.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's more. I hope it maintains a little more of a slight educational tone to it, more than DreamWorks bottom of the barrel humor.
Well, I do know that it's supposed to, like, they give him, going through time and everything, and he's supposed to be teaching him as usual. Well, there's this girl that Sherman uses or hangs out with. It's this Penny Peterson or whatever. But they go back in time, and she ends up not wanting to leave one of the times. So Peabody and Sherman have to go back in time to bring her back.
Okay.
But it's still kind of supposed to be in depth with the history, so I am excited for it. And it is interesting that they're adding that extra dynamic of the girl character. But so that is somewhat updating what the original plotline was. But I'm just hoping that it turns out fine. But I am super excited for it.
Is this the first time DreamWorks has adapted something that they didn't create?
I want to say so.
Wow, we sound really unprofessional. No,
well,
I mean...
I'm pretty sure that they haven't done anything that's an adaptation. I think it's been a lot of other studios, but I also think that a lot of those other studios have gone for the give them a live-action kind of release instead of trying to keep them in the cartoon world.
Right, you mean like Smurfs and Alvin and the Chipmunks and some other things.
Or Rocky and Bullwinkle, or, all those type shows.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're good in their own right, but they could have been a lot better had they been in some kind of a animation form.
Right.
Whether it's CG or hand-drawn.
Right. So, no, I'll see it.
I'll definitely see it. Just because I like the original material, so I think it'll be quite fun to check out.
Now, the next one is the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. news about Coulson's quote-unquote magical survival being connected to Avengers 2.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering how that's supposed to come into play.
Well, I'm hoping he shows up in Avengers 2 because I'm a Coulson fan. I like Coulson a lot.
From what I've read, the Clark Gregg seems to know a little bit more than pretty much everybody else besides the writers of what's going to happen with his character.
Right.
Or the series in general, but he continuously, there's continuously hints to justify that he's the life model decoy.
Mm-hmm.
Just from subtle hints that all the characters have said throughout the show.
Or that he said, because I remember in the asset they made a point, he said he used to be able to do something and now he can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
There was a moment with a gun where he was either trying to load it or unload it really quickly, and he couldn't quite get it. So
yeah, he was slipping, so it was kind of that aspect, and then the fact that some of the comments people were making about it that kind of support that. But then they keep saying something about the magical place and certain aspects that are tying to Avengers 2, and I'm seeing things saying that basically that he might be in Avengers Age of Ultron.
See, if he is in Avengers 2, I hope that... I don't know. Part of me... I'm not sure how I feel about him being a life model decoy. Obviously, that is one of the answers to how he could be alive. I just wish it was him. Like, just him. Because... but maybe it would be more... Maybe the Avengers would be more angry at the fact that Fury kept him alive using a life model decoy rather than just letting him die. You know, like I don't. I want to see Nick Fury outed as the dick that he is on screen.
Well, this is just a theory that I've come up with in the last 5 minutes, just from thinking of this, and it's incorporating both concepts. Let's say that, for instance, he remembers, this Tahiti being a magical place, quote unquote, and maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. copied his memory and put him in a life model decoy, but the real Coulson was healed by the Scarlet Witch, which is still hidden behind the scenes somewhere with Fury, and the life model decoy is the one that's actually running this team. So that eventually this life model decoy could get destroyed and the real Coulson could take back over, thus kind of bringing him back into the Avengers fold.
Possibly. I mean, if you throw the Scarlet Witch into any equation, anything is possible. So she could just will him back to life. I mean,
but that could also explain the aspect of him not being able to do certain things, or not knowing, like insinuating that he doesn't know that he's actually a clone or a copy.
Right.
So right. It still would keep everything with that sound mentality of how he is up and around, but it could also incorporate the fact that both of them could be existing concurrently.
I will say this. I've said it before, I do like the character of Coulson. I think he was sorely missed in Iron Man 3. I was very mad when he quote unquote died in Avengers, because it was to me it was just Joss Whedon kind of ripping off his own movie, which was Serenity. But interesting thing, we just played on Off the Cuff, we talked about Lego Marvel Superheroes, and so far, and just in the demo, the only voice that they were able to get to portray the actual character was Clark Gregg. Everybody else is
eating up this character.
Yeah, it's such a great character. I've liked him. Like, I haven't seen him in very many things, but I've liked him I've liked the actor since he showed up at the end of Sports Night, the Aaron Sorkin TV show that ran from like 98 to 2000. He shows up at the very end of that show, at end of that series, and he was like kind of the same guy. He's got this mysterious vibe to him, and he plays it really well, and I really dig that about his character.
Well, and I like the kind of snarky quirks that he has too.
Yes. Yep.
He plays that really well, and I mean, granted, I don't have much experience with him besides him playing this character, but ever since I saw him in Iron Man 1, I've liked the character. Just his little parts even in that film intrigued me enough to, care about the character throughout the rest, and then I was, of course, pissed when they killed him in Avengers, but
I feel like...
I know it sounds like we're beating a dead horse with this, but it's interesting, and it's that I want to know factor.
Right. I just feel like his character has always been condescending, but also very, very nice at the same time. He's got this condescending, nice tone to him. It's like he's smarter than you, but he's not gonna be
a dick about it.
Yeah, but somehow it still comes out the wrong way. I can't really explain. It's like, but it's great. I like the character, and awesome. If he's alive and he makes it back to the silver screen, great. But I definitely could use a little Coulson every day of the week. So, but then again, Coulson is also in Ultimate Spider-Man, the cartoon series right now on Disney XD. and he's voiced by Clark Gregg. So
it comes full circle.
Yep. On top of that news, Marvel's just rumored to be just piling on the TV shows. They have 4 more TV shows and a miniseries in development. As far as what's being developed, the only thing that people have been able to speculate on is a World War II period piece around Agent Carter, who was the love interest in Captain America. What was the name of that? What was the subtitle of that movie? Was there a subtitle of that movie, or was it just Captain America?
It was Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
No, Winter Soldier's Part 2.
I don't know.
I think it was just Captain America. This has been a long week, everybody.
Yes.
I started a new job, and I'm still not. I haven't reshuffled all my eggs to get them in the right order yet. So, but yeah, I don't know if they think they can pull off 4 other shows. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is hitting its stride. So, supposedly, I haven't seen the latest episode.
I haven't either.
So
we'll know next week.
I will say, though, in a tweet going along with Movie Revolt Dan, who was in my spot last week, I do agree with him about the Tomorrow People. We talked about that for a second when we did the GCRN Fall TV preview. He happened to catch the first episode of the Tomorrow People, as did I, and we both thought it was a more interesting show than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
it's like Jumper, but for TV.
I can see the Jumper, obviously, but I liken it more to Push, the Summit with Chris Evans. And so it's pretty neat. I have the second episode to watch yet, but I definitely liked it a little better. But that's not what we're talking about right now. What else? I
honestly don't care about the Agent Carter if they bring that to TV. That doesn't interest me whatsoever. But I mean, I understand the World War II thing, and no offense to that, I don't care for that aspect. It's not, I don't think, necessary. I would rather see Disney bring some other things to light.
It looks like part of this article says it looks like they hypothesizes that if Amazon and Netflix are in the running for a miniseries, that it might allow Marvel to get out from underneath the PG-13 rating.
Which that could really help them, because they could do like a Punisher TV show or
Blade. Because
I know there's a fan base for that too. So I mean, you could get away with a lot more darker territory.
So if they think they can pull it off, right now is probably the time to try and do it. Strike while the iron's hot. I think you could get away with a grittier show if AMC was also in the running too, or FX. But sure. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens, and we'll keep you guys updated when stuff does happen with it.
Yes.
So what else we got, Steve?
Batman vs Superman. Bet you didn't see this one coming this quick. Is filming starting this weekend, and it's in LA. They're actually doing it at a local football stadium in that area.
Okay.
Where they're going to have Gotham and Metropolis playing each other. And it's supposed to be like a college football game between Gotham City and Metropolis State University.
Is Bane going to show up and blow it up?
Funny thing enough is it almost looks like the same field.
Well, it is a football field, and they do tend to look alike.
Well, it looks like the same type of destructive part of the field, I guess, is what from some of the images that were kind of around.
Okay.
So, but that could have also been false. But they did have all the players with the Gotham and the Gotham colors and the Metropolis and those colors. So they don't know whether Batman and Superman will actually be on location, but it's going to be filmed during like the halftime of a show. or of the game. So
I don't think they will be. I
don't think so. I think it's too early.
There was another thing that was not too long ago. It was a little tidbit of a rumor that Goyer was saying that it was farther along in production than people actually thought it was to change anything to like fan reaction, and that they were actually going to start shooting very soon. But I do know that I believe Affleck and Cavill have another movie, or doing other movies before they even like step on set. So it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how this movie comes together.
Yeah, considering I know films are shot out of sequence all the time and having to be butchered back together, but that'll be really interesting considering I think they're going to shoot a lot of the scenes they don't need either one of them for ahead of time. That way when it comes to them, they can just boom, 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 done.
Now what's going to be really interesting if they end up green screening them into these sequences.
Don't say that.
Well, but the question is, will we know? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I hope not. I hope it's not obvious.
Exactly. So.
But, yeah. And then, of course, Roberto Orci, one of the writers of the new Star Trek, and has written the Transformers films and Transformers Prime, is in talks with CBS to revive Star Trek on TV.
Okay, I can use another TV show.
I'm not sure how I feel about them particularly doing it, since they had their chance with the films, and even the films didn't have... I don't know, I don't think they captured the tech and actual future... the science of it just seems off on a lot of levels.
But I feel like
compared
a TV
to
series...
the original. Well, even if I mean, I know it's a completely different timeline, and that's irrelevant for the science of it, because I mean, I know this TV series can cover a lot more in depth, and granted I did like what Kurtzman and Orsi did with Transformers Prime more than I did the films of either franchise. But I'm not quite sure how I feel about them particularly taking hold of it.
I mean, it's interesting because I think a TV show is more fluid than a movie is. It's like you have 2 hours to tell a story, whereas, I mean, you see it right now with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, it's stumbled out the gate, and now supposedly it's coming together. You could get that same thing going with, you know, the Star Trek coming back to TV, being done by Orsi and crew. I mean, even shows like the Clone Wars completely justify the existence of the Star Wars prequels, because without those you wouldn't have had the Clone Wars cartoon show. And well, it's kind of interesting that the prequel was awful, but it spawned this awesome TV series that completely justified an awful set of movies.
Okay, I can see that side of the story then.
But then again, remember, it's kind of... But I guess it comes down to, yeah, he can be a showrunner and an executive producer. The problem is he's one of those guys that has his name on everything right now. So it's not... I'm wondering, like, yeah, he might be the guy that kind of helps push it to get made, and he might get that executive producer credit or whatnot. But it's kind of like, how much say will he actually have in the day-to-day? Because George Lucas is credited on the Clone Wars TV series. And
he didn't have much to do with it, other than a consultant role. Right,
and it was all the stories and the writings and stuff like that were given over to quote unquote more competent people. So maybe you could get the same thing here, and maybe Paramount's maybe they want to use this as a just throwing this out in the dark. Because everyone seems to be kind of trying to follow Marvel's tails right now. What if, because Warner Brothers is following Marvel, trying to do a Justice League movie, what if Paramount CBS tries to capitalize on Star Trek and create a consistent world across TV and film?
I could get behind that. The only problem is I don't know... I mean, granted, the shows have kind of done well, even if they're not centering around the Enterprise crew. But the problem is most people don't recognize anything other than the Enterprise crew. I don't think it would get as clear of a shot because they would compare it to other shows, whereas it wouldn't be truly Star Trek.
I don't know that I mean, how long did Voyager go for? 9 seasons?
7.
7? I mean...
And DS9 went for 7, and The Next Generation went for 7, and Enterprise went for 5. Well, it went for 4 before getting canceled.
But, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, maybe, I don't know. I would like to see Star Trek back on TV.
I would like to see it on TV, but I don't know if I want to see it in its current continuity. I'm fine with the films being in the current continuity because, let's face it, the films never did that well under TNG. They did better under the original cast anyhow, under the Kirk, Spock, McCoy dynamic.
But was that because of who was playing them? Or because of those characters?
I think it has to do with the characters, because while the Next Generation crew I find is a lot better on television, on the films they weren't as great as the original cast, the original crew, I mean.
Well, I know, I'm saying, like, do you think it's the actors that played Kirk, McCoy, and Spock in the original one versus, like, do you think? I think William Shatner was more fun as Kirk than Pine was. And
yeah,
Pine,
I will definitely say that.
And Pine is only good as Kirk when he's doing a parody of William Shatner as Kirk.
Yeah, I will agree to that. I enjoy the McCoy and Scotty almost as much as the original, only for the fact that they're doing almost identical personifications of them.
Right, and I think Spock even falls into that too, because I think I think Quinto was really good, I think Peg was really good, and I do think Carl Urban nails Bones, but Pine is the one that he's only good when he's doing the Kirk shtick. Like in the first one, when he's doing the Kobayashi Maru and he's chewing the apple, like that is complete Kirk. That's William Shatner.
That's cocky. That was written perfect.
And you never see that. Pine never does that again. Pine becomes like some other side of Kirk that no one's really, or I don't remember ever seeing.
No, he doesn't even. He was completely different, other than when he first put on the gold suit, the gold shirt in the first film at the end.
Right, when he walks on the bridge, he's channeling
like, Bones, and then he sounds just like Shatner in that entire end of the movie right there. But I don't know. I would like, and he had moments in the second film too, but it was not as much as the first film had. But I definitely agree. I don't see it landing very well because of that reason alone. I mean, I would just like to see more in that. The Star Trek universe has always fascinated me. For me, it's never really been about the cast. I like the Next Generation crew. I like the original series crew. I like Voyager. Deep Space Nine was alright from what I remember watching when I was a kid. And I did like Enterprise. But for me, I've always just liked the idea of the ideas that was put forth in Star Trek. And the movies, especially the second one, they kind of got away from... What is Star Trek?
And what's always appealed to me about Star Trek is the everyone working together to accomplish a goal, not these minute takes on people out for a vendetta. Like, there was this whole... It just goes back to what really bugged me about this. The second movie felt so small. Like, but
it stole from just about every piece of continuity in the previous...
And
the previous universe, I mean...
And felt smaller. Because, like, I don't know if it was because of it or whatnot, but it just felt so small. Like, Starfleet was relegated to, like, one ship. Like, I get that most of them were wiped out in the first movie and whatnot, but
They
I
restored
don't
the
know.
Enterprise, and then they had the Vengeance. I mean, so there should have been something put together where they had other ships to help the
And
Enterprise.
I know this is nitpicking, but it seems like it's kind of like, wait a minute, if you're having where's all your, like, if you're having trouble building stuff, maybe you should figure out where your money's going. Oh, look, it's going to this giant cube that's over here. Build, where's this money suck coming from that we can't build more ships, but we can build we can build one massive one, but we can't build several smaller ones. Anyways, we're going way off on a tangent here about Star Trek. My point being is I've always liked the idea and the camaraderie that comes along with it, and people working together to accomplish a single goal. And I think that if they can bring that back to TV and they can flesh out what's missing from the movies, it's kind of like how I hate to keep going back to this, but it's the best example we have right now, right? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the first things we said about that one when we were talking about it is that it could bring a more human element to the cinematic universe, which has been completely absent up to this point. And maybe the new Star Trek TV series can put a more human element on, or a bigger picture. It's kind of dumb, right? The small screen can put a bigger picture on what's going on in the cinematic universe this time around. But
I don't see any reason why they can't do it that way. I mean, it's just because it's never been done that way in the past doesn't mean that they couldn't try it that way.
I will say
Marvel's doing it.
I will say I will tune in before I tune out. I will.
Oh yes, I will most assuredly give it a chance because I love Star Trek to the point that I'm a co-creator host of Future Imperfect with This Week in Geek, talking Star Trek. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Though I love Trek enough to catch it if it ever comes back.
All right. We got one. Looks like we got one more little piece.
Yeah, this is more of a fun jab at Michael Bay, but it's not fun for him. He was in Hong Kong shooting scenes for Transformers 4 Age of Extinction, which, for those that don't know, that's the Dinobots. He always gives away what the story is about in the title. But he was attacked by a man wielding an air conditioning unit. To which I kind of found, I mean, it's funny, but it's horrible that somebody would be chasing him with an air conditioning unit. It says that it involved these two brothers that looked like that they were intoxicated somehow. But they were trying to get money off of him or something, and then they welded an air conditioning unit. And depending on where you check this news, because I've seen it all over the web, there's actually reports where people are saying that they actually hit him and injured him, and saying that he refused medical attention, and then there's other ones saying that he managed to, dodge him so that he didn't get hit with it. He ducked, and then the security team took them out before getting them to the police. And then but it's funny if reading different sites you'll see two different things. But I mean, it's good that he's not hurt, but it's still funny that this managed to get through. Out of all the random news and bashing of Michael Bay, there's somebody trying to actually hit him with an air conditioning unit.
I mean, it's not related because I don't think it was anyone trying to. Obviously, it wasn't the story I'm going to talk about. Wasn't anyone trying to harass Michael Bay? But do you remember the story during the filming of Transformers 3 where the cop was chasing someone and he drove through the Transformers set? Do you remember
Isn't that the
that?
one where he T-boned like a Bumblebee unit?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
It's like he really wanted to get in that movie.
there's always something funny about the Transformers movies, other than the fact that 1/3 of them is really, really bad.
Yeah.
So. I say that because
Um,
I like the first and the third one, but
Yeah, I mean, the third one's again not my favorite, but I enjoyed a lot more than
I I appreciate the first and the third one because I feel like they did more to directly embed the Transformers in our history. And I find that stuff really cool. Like the first one is, why did we build the Hoover Dam? Oh, to hide the Allspark. Is that what it was? Did I have that right? No. What's the cube?
the Allspark.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think that's what they called it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was getting it wrong, and I didn't want to.
That's not actually a part of like the
lore?
continuity. That
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
that was Michael Bay invention, whereas the Matrix was actual, canon.
well, I'll take the Allspark over Energon cubes. So, but no, I appreciated the first one how they built the Hoover Dam to cover up the Allspark. The third one about how the space race was just an attempt to get to the moon because something crashed into it, and it was just like a veiled, we hid it all from the public. I really appreciated that. There wasn't a whole lot of that in the third one, and at least in the second one there wasn't a whole lot of that, and it was kind of neat when they had the whole Egyptian thing, but that was all ruined by Devastator. So,
Yeah.
and it was only, I'm pretty sure we brought it up before. The Wrecking Balls is the only thing that really ruined Devastator. So
Yeah, Devastator was kind of cool up until that point, and I was like,
yeah, you lost me. So
yeah, and then Simmons magically calling for a railgun.
yeah. So I'm sure we'll have lots more to say about Transformers in the upcoming months. Oh, I found
sure
something.
Too.
I found something that I wanted to tell you about because I think you might be interested in it.
Nice.
Have you ever heard of Mark Millar's Nemesis?
Mark Millar. No.
Okay. My understanding of it, this is just a quick oversimplification of it probably, and if anyone's read it that's listening to this, I apologize if I get it completely wrong, but the way that it was told to me is that Mark Millar's Nemesis is a retelling of the Batman Joker story. But it's from the point of view where Bruce Wayne grows up, becomes a psychotic psychopath, and Bruce Wayne becomes the Joker, and the Joker becomes the hero.
Huh.
So it's like a millionaire. It's like a millionaire psychopath or a billionaire psychopath versus like just a run of the mill like street or probably like a beat cop, I guess, is what the Joker would end up being. It's not like he doesn't use like Bruce Wayne. I think it might be published by Marvel. I'm not entirely sure. I know it's not a DC book, but there is a movie. We can probably we'll talk about it more when it shows up on MWire Weekly, but it's being turned into a movie right now. Yeah, I found out about it a few years ago, and I think I told my one friend about it, and for some reason you and I had a conversation and it made me think of that, so I had to go find out what it was, and I did, because movie news about it popped up. So I was reminded as to what it was. But all right, do we want to move on to some listener feedback?
Yeah, let's get into it. I guess we can kind of, preface this with saying that we had a lot of listener comments, which was awesome. A lot of intercommunication, which again is awesome, and then new people communicating, which was awesome.
I do like how it seems like every week we get a new commenter, and then that commenter returns the next week along with another new commenter. So it just keeps each week we just keep getting more and more people, and it's really cool. It's been really cool to see. So I'm glad everyone's sharing it with their friends and family, and maybe you're not. Maybe you're just making duplicate accounts and coming back to keep arguments going with yourself. I don't know. But
that would be an interesting conversation. No matter what, you're always right.
So, but no, we do enjoy the feedback and everything. But I will say, I wish I had gotten to this point in the last episode where you and Dad started talking about stand-up comedians. And
yeah, that was definitely fun. Part of the problem too, because people were asking, what? No mention of certain, so and so and this comedian and this comedian. Well, one, I'm only versed in certain ones. It just depends on who I'm exposed to, and then some of them I'm aware of, but I don't particularly care for their style. Not to say that I dislike all of the ones that weren't mentioned. I'm not as familiar, but I was also grasping at straws, trying to recall instead of having them pre-written down like I've been trying to do. So I was kind of the seat of my pants, pulling names out of my, so.
Well, that's how we like to do things here. So
yeah, a little bit off the cuff. So.
But I will say most of the names that I saw the commenters bring up, I am aware of them. I will say that there are some that I may, like for instance, Super Film Fan says, and I know I'm jumping around here, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to get this out of the way. Super Film Fan says his favorite stand-ups are Cosby and Seinfeld. I have nothing against them at all. There hasn't been, and maybe I just haven't watched the right things. I haven't watched this, like I used to find the stuff at the end of the Seinfeld program where it was actually Seinfeld doing a little bit of stand-up over credits. I used to find some of that stuff pretty funny, so I can imagine his stand-up being particularly funny. But Cosby, I've never actually seen, he's annoying to me now. I don't think he's I'm not saying that about him being like a good whether or not he's a good comedian. I think just the roles that he's taken or the way that he's been portrayed, maybe in the last few years or decade or so, just makes him really annoying to me.
Yeah, I can kind of see that too. I think he was more so relevant in the 80s though.
Right. So, and I have trouble watching anything from the 80s. So
I've seen some of the Cosby stuff in the 80s and they're pretty funny. Like he talks about, kids and just life in general and stuff. So I mean he's pretty funny. Seinfeld, I'm not saying I dislike him. I wasn't a fan of the show, which is a completely different beast. And I will admit to you that I had caught some of the endings credits where he's doing a stand-up and they aren't that bad, but I'm not really a fan of his per se. I like some Dane Cook, even though he's kind of a one-trick pony.
Well, Dane Cook, I can laugh at his stuff. For me, and this pretty much goes for any comic or any type of comedy. It could be Will Ferrell, it could be Dane Cook, it could be anybody. I use those two examples because I think they're the two that are most guilty of it that I can think of right now. I don't like when people yell for humor's sake. Like they just get louder until something becomes funny.
Yeah.
That's not funny to me, that's annoying.
I have to agree.
So in most Dane Cook stuff is him. I do enjoy his energy. I think he's great. He puts on a great show, and I've seen him live. It's just when he just starts yelling, I can't do it. I kind of check out until he comes back to like an indoor voice kind of thing. But
I think the stuff he's joking about is hilarious. It's just I have to agree with that stance too. I've seen a lot of Jeff Dunham being thrown around in there too, being that I brought that up. Granted, he is kind of a novelty act, and his jokes are simplistic. I wouldn't say that they rely on racial stereotypes. I think it's just he plays on the fact that it's a dummy.
Now he's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that has the ventriloquist.
Yeah, he has
Okay.
Walter Peanut, Jalapeno, and then I can't remember the other guy's name. He says, "Silence! I kill you."
Yeah, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist or something
Yes.
like that. I agree. I can watch Jeff Dunham. I've watched. I think he's got like 3 specials on Netflix, and I've watched all of them, and I've laughed. But I can see why people don't like him, and I think the reasons that people don't like him are, I think those are legit reasons not to like him. Like the playing heavily on stereotypes and the lowest common denominator of jokes. It's kind of like, it's almost kind of like how it's kind of the reverse of Dane Cook getting really loud with his humor. This and Jeff Dunham kind of plays like really low, like he goes really low with it, and I can see how both styles can be annoying to people, or off-putting. So I have laughed at his stuff, though. I will admit that I can't really pick out anything that's particularly funny or memorable about what he's done, but I do enjoy. I like props. There's twins. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but they do a lot of really funny. They have a funny skit too, but I can't remember their names.
Well, I like Jeff Dunham. Some of his jokes are bad. Like, I'll admit, I didn't like when he had the African American dummy, because that was kind of a little bit racist. Being that it was based on stereotypes, the pimp and the how he talked and everything else. So honestly, I didn't really like that character anyway because of all of that. It's just, I don't know. I prefer the off the wall kind of not placed in reality type characters. I mean, Walter's the closest to a reality based character that we've got in there, and I like him because he's playing the crotchety old man. But then you get to the other characters that are just bashing him the whole time, or he's even got a dummy now that he's himself being played by one of his other dummies. So it's funny, but I can kind of see where it rubs some people the wrong way, though.
I see some Dave Attell in here from let's see, Born Standing Up. Like some Dave Attell.
I've seen a little bit of his stuff.
Stephen Wright, or Stephen Wright. I feel like I should know. That name got thrown around not too long ago in front of me, and I feel like I should know what that was.
He used to be on Whose Line Is It Anyway for a little bit, like in the British one.
Okay.
I see Chris Rock mentioned, Eddie Murphy, Brian Posehn, Patton Oswalt, Tig Notaro. Some of these people I'm not like Tig Notaro. I'm not familiar, or Brian Posehn. I am familiar with like Chris Rock and Patton Oswalt and the bigger names that are most, they've done a lot of acting jobs, so I'm familiar with them more so. But I mean, yeah, there's so many different levels of comedians there that it's there's some for every personality and every taste of comedic timing.
Yeah, some of my favorite comedians are like Pablo Francisco or Greg Barrett. I wish I had a whole list of guys in front of my head. Like I just watched Jim Brewer.
Oh, I forgot about him. He was great.
I just watched. He's got a stand-up special on Netflix right now. I watched that. That was pretty funny.
He does a lot of AC/DC knockoff.
Yeah, and you know what? Case in point, in the very beginning of that stand-up skit on Netflix that I watched, he gets very loud and it's very annoying. But later on, it gets, he's just doing voices and characters and stuff like that. It gets funny again. So it doesn't really, it's not limited to just, Dane Cook or like Will Ferrell. It's pretty much anyone that gets, like, anyone that exceeds the range of their microphone for comedy.
Yeah.
That's where I get. I'm like, no.
I love when you can tell that there's a lot of energy, and I like when they have a lot of the physical reactions during the comedy that they're telling.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of helps illustrate what we're supposed to be getting from it.
Oh, Adam Ferreira. He's another stand-up that I like.
I've heard of him.
I haven't seen a stand-up special for him in a while. The last thing I actually saw him in was on Rescue Me. He played the police chief.
Okay.
And like in the later seasons of that, but yeah, I do enjoy Adam Ferreira. He's got some great skits about being married or being in relationships and stuff like that. So
I remember Gallagher.
I am aware of him because I've seen him like parodied in stuff like Family Guy and other outlets where they make references. So
well, yeah, he's famous for smashing stuff with a giant mallet, but especially the watermelon, which is how he ended every show. But he had a lot of skits and a lot of prop play, and then he would tell jokes and kind of make fun of things in life and that kind of stuff. So I haven't seen one of those in a long time to really remember a lot about it, other than the smashing stuff. But I remember enjoying that when I saw it.
Right. Let's see. One of the other questions.
Yeah, the what CG series has made an impression on you, and what made you love it? Of course, the common denominators are. I'll kind of go through some of them. Like Royal Sorceress says, one CG series that I like that no one seems to know about is Stormhawks. I think I've seen that briefly, but I'm not all that familiar with it.
It sounds like something I might want to check out. Stormhawks actually sounds like a kind of cool name.
Yeah, better than Silverhawks or Thundercats. It might be by the same people. I don't know. Like creator-wise, not studio.
Right.
They got it right this time. But their all-time favorite can only be Beast Wars. I like those series for the characters, and it doesn't hurt that Scott McNeil does voices for both. Yes, Scott McNeil is awesome. I've actually met him at TFCon. The line for that was so outrageously long, but he spent like 10-15 minutes with each person that came up to get signatures and pictures with him.
Nice.
So it was a real down-to-earth, fun... like, I missed multiple panels I wanted to go to because I really wanted to meet the guy. And I got up there, and he was super nice, signed a bunch of stuff for me, got pictures, did his character voices, and just it was, he's a real great guy to meet. But so I mean, I can see that. But going on to some other ones, Superfilm Fan 98 says, I enjoyed Clone Wars TV series recently. So much better storytelling than the actual movies. Reboot is also a past personal favorite.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I shared my love for that series earlier in this episode, the Clone Wars series, because, like I said, it made up for the travesty that was the prequel movies. And before, I guess I should say this, before somebody wants to jump on me for liking or not liking the prequel the prequel Star Wars films, I enjoyed the last half of Episode 2 and the first half of Episode 3, and that was about it. However,
I enjoy Episode 3 out of the prequel.
However, Clone Wars was awesome. I watched it sporadically in the beginning, and then there was something about it just was awesome, and I couldn't stop watching it.
Now, is this series done?
It is done. I believe everyone's kind of moved on to doing that new Star Wars Rebels show, so I have high hopes for that. There's a lot of people that think I don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't watched Clone Wars, because if you haven't, it's actually they do tell some of the best stories I think I've ever seen. But they even right one of the biggest wrongs that happened in the prequel movies. So, however,
And I know they bring in a celebrity to actually voice his character again.
I don't know if I was aware of that. I don't even know if we're talking about the same character because I don't want to spoil anything.
I'll mention it off air.
Okay. But I really did like. I liked how it ended. There's a lot of people that think that the way that it ended prompts the fact that certain characters may show up in episode 7. Which, if that's true, I will be very, very happy because I really like that character.
What? You're gonna have to type that in the window because I'm not sure. I think I know who, but I'm not.
You know, you could just edit it out, and we could talk about it.
I don't want to.
Okay, fine. But okay, let's see here. You're gonna have to do a little bit of editing, anyways.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, Yep, that one too. Okay, yep, that one. And so, I thought you were talking about. But yeah, no. And it's great because we're having a conversation in Skype while we're trying to record a podcast.
Yes,
so,
sorry, people. We just don't want to spoil it. I haven't seen the entirety of that show. I've caught episodes here or there. I was waiting for the whole thing to be done. That way I can just blitz through it because I've heard a lot of good things about that show from numerous people, yourself included. So I've been kind of wanting to see it. It's just I didn't want to have to worry about missing something.
No, I get that. I like watching things after they've aired too. It's but if anyone that was put off by the movie, the Clone Wars movie that started the CG Clone Wars movie that essentially launched the TV series, don't hold. Yes, that is the beginning of this series, but don't hold that against this movie and against the entire series because it does get really good. But even then, I still think that Clone Wars movie is actually pretty good. They do a lot of interesting things with the droids. They aren't quite as annoying as they are in the films. And they do like a lot of cool stuff with like the shady underbelly and the Sith and like bounty hunters and stuff like that. It's just really cool. It is in an interesting way. It's kind of it's what we were talking about, like the new Star Wars TV series could be, or like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is. Like that is what, you know, the Clone Wars TV series is or was to the prequel movies, because everything that happens in that trilogy happens between episodes 2 and 3. And that's a lot of stuff to happen. It's actually but I'm in that regard, I'm looking forward to Star Wars Rebels too, because I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. But what else do we have?
Rounding out the last of the CG stuff, Walking Dread says the only CG series worth anything in my book is Beast Wars and Reboot. It seems to be kind of unanimous. Mainframe animation is reigning supreme here. Freddy Savage says the only CG series I have watched were Green Lantern, which that was a Cartoon Network show, Beast Wars and Reboot, again, Mainframe. Of all of those, I would say Beast Wars is overall the best, which I would have to agree. Animation and storytelling and character development throughout the show, I'd have to agree. King of Kong says, for CG series, I have been all about Beware the Batman. It has surprised me a great amount so far. I thought it would suck, but it has hit that character just right.
I'm sorry, is that fully CG?
Yes. Beware the Batman is fully CG. I started watching it from the get-go, believing it to be crap because, or expecting it to be crap, I should say, because they weren't going to introduce any of Batman's regular rogues. They had like Professor Pig and the Toad, and then they introduced Anarchy, and then they introduced the League of Assassins, and then they introduced an actual villain.
Okay.
Before they went on break at episode 11. or they introduced that character at 10, at the very end of 10, but then they went back to Professor Pig and Mr. Toad in 11. But you have, Alfred, Katana, Bruce Wayne, Batman. Him, of course, in the early stages. You get to see a lot more advanced tech with Batman. And I think the actor that actually portrays Batman here, the voice of him and Bruce Wayne, I think he nails it on the head, honestly, for a new age version of like a Kevin Conroy. He's not imitating Kevin Conroy, he's doing his own thing, but I think he kind of nails that persona much better than what I've heard for the Arkham Origins or Beware the Batman or The Batman. I think this is actually the best take next to Kevin Conroy.
Well, I mean, if you're... I liked the Batman. I really did. I liked that series, and I
mean, I wouldn't say
saying.
It was bad. But I prefer this is to me. I mean, other than
It's
the
a
Bruce
solid
Greenwood
handoff
playing
too.
it. Yeah, this is a nice send off away from Kevin Conroy. If anybody was going to replace him, I like this guy's personality for it.
Okay. Does any of that have to do with the style of Batman? Because I couldn't see Kevin Conroy's voice on the Batman.
I think a lot of that has to do with the style, but I think that Kevin Conroy fits with anything that Bruce Timm develops.
Right. But that's a style thing, so.
Yeah, and being that Bruce Timm isn't doing any more Batman stuff, other than the possible Batman Beyond one that was teased recently, that he might be doing a DC Universe animated feature of Batman Beyond, taking place after taking place somewhere within the comic realm.
Right.
Which, of course, they would have to get Kevin Conroy and Will Friedle back because it's based off their characters. But no, I mean, I couldn't see Kevin Conroy doing The Batman or Beware the Batman. I could see him doing this, The Brave and the Bold. I could see him doing Beware the Batman, but I think this guy's voice kind of fits perfect with this style animation.
Okay.
But I have to agree, though. I do really like the show. It surprised me almost as much as the new Ninja Turtles surprised me.
I forgot that was computer animated as well.
Which that's really great too.
Season 2 just started. I have the first episode to watch on Saturday. Saturday morning cartoons. Yay!
Yay! I get to do that too. That gives me something to watch on Saturdays. I have Turtles and Beware the Batman.
Nice.
So I have a double hitter on Saturday mornings now. It's kind of nice. And then getting into the last question before we actually go on to something else is, what is your dream job? Can be non-geeky or super geeky. We only had a few people actually answer this. Royal Sorceress says, my dream job is being a voice actor for cartoons and video games.
I think that's your dream job, isn't it, Steve?
Yes.
Are you Royal Sorceress?
No.
Okay.
I would have some other name like that I used to have picked out, but and I would not be a sorceress.
Okay. Just checking.
So, but no, that's definitely a cool thing, and that's the same thing I'm wanting to get into, so I can definitely relate to that. That's why I like doing all of the voice stuff for the network, because I can do it and get away with it, even though I don't get paid.
Yet.
Yes, yet. There is that small trickle of hope in there. Jedi I think it's Disaster or Diaster. I don't know. I may have copied it wrong.
Oh.
If I did, I apologize. It says, my dream job would be to work with ILM or on the upcoming Star Wars films. Along those same lines, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars Clone Wars series.
Well, that's 3 votes for Clone Wars right here.
Yes. Yeah, that would be really cool getting to work at ILM or on a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
I think anybody would want to do that.
What else? Let's see. Plato's Lament says, "My dream job would be to be a college professor. I know it's not the most glamorous, but being able to teach history on a college level is one of my life's goals. That's awesome. I enjoy history. I really do. It's kind of like I'm kind of weird. Like, I really enjoy learning about like history and stuff like that, but I constantly have this eye towards like the future. Like, I just want all the tech. I want it all, but I also like to know where stuff came from, how it evolved, and that's an awesome subject. So
I'm of the same opinion. I think that's really cool to want to be a college professor. I say kudos to you if you get to that stage, because that'd be a decent amount of schooling. But it would be definitely cool to know a lot of stuff about, history, and it's really neat to have that kind of goal.
that's where my script runs out. So
Yes. Walking Dread says, "My dream job would be something that lets me watch TV, movie, and play video games for money." And then
Sounds
he says,
like-
LOL.
that sounds like my job.
Critic, I guess. Testing. Don't care which.
Yeah, that sounds like my job. I say that half joking because that's what I get to do at my job 2 days a week. Although that's not what I'm being paid for.
No.
I don't know. Like, I used to have the dream of doing something with games. I used to like the idea of being a game tester and stuff like that. But the more I follow game journalism and I see what goes on in the industry and stuff like that, the more I realize that I don't know that I could do that, because it's a whole lot of, your job is to break the game and then break the game again and then break the game again. That way you can make sure, and you have to document exactly what you were doing when you broke it. And then you have to like repeat it to see if it happens again. Like, I don't know that I could. Like, I play games for the enjoyment of them right now, and yeah, when I'm on off the cuff, I get a little like nitpicky talking about frame rates and screen tearing and just like low quality textures and stuff like that. But that, I don't know that I could play a game where, if my job was to break it, write down how I broke it, and then try and do it again, and I don't know that I don't know that I could do that. And more power to anybody that can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah. I used to want to do something like that too, but not anymore.
Yeah. King of Kong says, "My dream job would be a video game tester or programmer. Playing video games all day and getting paid for it can't get much better." And that again kind of touches on what you said.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. I was hoping. I mixed them up. But yeah, listen to what I just said. Like, back up 30 seconds.
Yes. Freddie Savage says, "My dream job would be a comic book writer. Being able to actually tell my own Batman or Spider-Man story for Marvel or DC would be an amazing experience."
Question for that listener: have you ever thought about doing your own webcomic? And if so, do you have one?
Yeah, that would be definitely a good first step.
I just think, like, there are certain things that I think, and I could be wrong, I think that if you have the right, there are certain hobbies that you have that I think can translate better, that you can just do on your own. You can self-publish so that you get noticed. Like, if you think that you have something to share or a story to tell, I think the internet offers a great outlet for like someone just to do something. I know, like, I think Amazon, and I know like iTunes, they allow you to like self-publish like ebooks. Like, if you have short stories that you want to tell, you can self-publish them on there. You can start a website a web page and just, you can do a weekly comic strip if you think you can turn a comic, a strip around that fast. I mean, I think it's crazy. I think we live in this. It kind of goes back to the tech talk and the internet that you guys were talking about last week, but it's kind of, it's kind of like what Geekcast Radio was kind of founded on, it, right? Everyone has this passion for the geek stuff, and we used to just sit around and kind of talk about it with our own friends, but all of a sudden it was like, you know what? We have an outlet. We can actually, get mics and sit down and record this stuff, and we can publish on the internet, and we can use the social networks and get the ideas out there, and it can be, relatively free,
Yeah, that's definitely why we do what we do.
So I think,
and it's to help further, not only our passion and being able to converse about what we like, but if it leads to something, better and beyond this, then great. If not, we're still having fun doing it.
Right, which is why we do crazy stuff behind the scenes to try to make these shows sound as good as we possibly can, and the off chance that that stuff does get noticed. And so I guess if you have the will or the drive or the talents, and I'm not saying you do or you don't, I'm not saying anything like that, but just put pen to paper and throw it up on the internet, use Twitter and stuff to get it all around. Someone, you never know who could end up seeing it. That's the crazy thing about like Twitter and stuff like that.
Exactly. And that's pretty much how a lot of us got in contact with each other, was through Twitter.
So,
but yeah, and even kind of jumping into that a little bit further, before I started podcasting, I started doing amateur voice dubs, which I still do occasionally. It just kind of depends on the project and whether I have time. Like I've done a couple like original one. I've done one original one, and then the rest are like dubs or fan audio plays based on a certain subject. I'm currently involved in a production called Dark Glass Project, which is, for those that don't know, and this is kind of touching on Beast Wars again, there were 3 episodes written for Beast Wars that never came to fruition. One of them was just a title and a concept. Another one was supposed to be kind of a guerrilla warfare type-ish episode, which had to do with Optimus Primal again. Very similar story. So they botched those 2. And then there was Dark Glass, which was supposed to take place in Season 3, where Go With The Flow is, which they had to write after the fact. Even though there's confusion saying it's supposed to be in Season 2, it's for Season 3 because it's pertaining to a lost episode that Christy Marks wrote, where Rat Trap is attempting to take the memory implants of Dinobot from Code of Hero and dump them in the Dinobot clone to bring him back to the Maximals. And so there was a fan webcomic developed in '99, which, again, that the animation, the 3D at the time was, or the CGI that was used was kind of, it was very raw, but it was as good as somebody could get for the tech at that time for a home user. And they kind of had the basic gist of the story. Well, this project is kind of based off that slightly, but it's also with rewrites, fixing a lot of the plot holes that were left because this episode never aired.
Okay.
So we're bridging some gaps that were in the season finale or series finale of the show, and then an aspect that has to do with Beast Machines that was never explained. So I can't really go into much more detail than that, being that I'm one of the executive producers. I did the voice casting of the project, and I don't do the animation, being that I don't know a lick about it, and the guys that do are very, very, very talented. We're attempting to recreate the 3D models and the show to mainframe specifications of the late 90s, as well as the music and audio. So if you want to keep up to date with that, there's a Facebook page and a Twitter page, but probably the best way to keep up to date with it is darkglassproject.com.
I'm sure you can put a link in the show notes, right?
I will. But but yeah, that's touching on that question though. Again, or actually the answer to the question, saying that, you know, dream job working as a writer, doing something that you can tell your own story. Well, this is just a bunch of fans collectively coming together, bringing to life something that never got the chance, that should have been a part of the show, just because we're passionate about it.
Right.
So I mean, there's always that kind of avenue, and if, you know, it leads to bigger and better things, great. If not, then we did it because we wanted to complete the series. So,
and there you have it. The internet is a tool for crazy people to use.
Yes, it is. So, what do we want to talk about this time? Albeit briefly.
I don't know. I don't really have anything that to talk about. I mean, are you asking for like a listener question for next week?
Well, I guess we can ask questions in a minute, or try and come up with some. But maybe a brief topic, being that we've kind of delved into the feedback and the news a little long this time. I guess we can kind of bring up maybe what we've been playing lately.
Sure. We can cover that if you want.
Sure.
You know what? No, actually, I think we might be able to talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about Diablo 3, Steve.
Ah, okay.
You played the 360 version, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
The demo.
Yes.
Thoughts?
I actually enjoy it a lot more on the 360 than I do on the PC.
It's the controller, right?
It's the controller. And for me, I've played Diablo 1, 2, and 3 on the PC. Like, that's how I knew it. And I've tried playing, like, and I along the same lines, I've played, like, StarCraft or Command & Conquer series on the computer, and then tried playing them on the Xbox. I can't get the hang of those type games. But those are, I think, because they're RTSs, instead of, like, an RPG type setup.
Right.
But I like having all the controls within that small confine of my hands, both of my hands being around that controller, whereas when I'm playing on the computer, I have the mouse to contend with, but I also have the arrow keys to kind of move a little bit, or I have to press certain numbers and letters, and you're moving your hand all over the keyboard, so it's not as quickly activated for certain things that you're trying to do than if you're sitting there with a controller and you can just, you know, it's just a finger twitch away.
Right. No, I totally understand what you're talking about, because that's one of the things when I sat down to play. Well, you sent me, you sent me your little code for Diablo 3 on the computer, and I played it on there for a little bit, and then I went out like the next day or the day after, and I went out and bought it on my computer. And I started playing it, and I realized I didn't really like it all that much because I didn't get it. I didn't understand why a game like that didn't have controller support. There wasn't a whole lot going on that I hadn't seen done in like a Dark Alliance on the PlayStation 2, or Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the Xbox 360, or even the X-Men Legends games for PlayStation 2 and Xbox and stuff like that. I felt like Diablo had been pulled off on console, like with a controller. And there are people that were really adamant about it's got to be mouse and keyboard. There's just so much going on. And I remember people making a big deal about I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but the always online connection with Diablo 3. Like,
yeah, I was on that.
Well, but there were people that were justifying it, saying that they were doing cloud computing for like enemy AI and stuff like that. Like the number of enemies on screen was dictated by what was going on in the cloud and all that. And I'm just like, you can't tell me. And then it turns out that the only reason it was connected to the cloud was for the online auction house, which is not in the console version.
Well, and they're actually getting rid of it in the PC version now. So
right, and the console version does not have an it doesn't have to be connected online to play it. And I will say this: the game looked a little better on my computer than it does on my on the console version.
Oh yeah, I hands down it looks a little bit more crisp on the PC than it does on the Xbox. However, I like the fact I can play it offline.
There's that, but I also I don't really think that there's a I don't think that the reasons that people were justifying the online connection for, I don't think those exist. I think that the consoles are perfectly capable of pulling off the same game, granted at a lower resolution than the PC version. But I also fully intend on buying the game again on the PlayStation 4. Because I would like to see a better looking version of the game.
Well, I think the reason why they had the online is to prevent the piracy and the hacking of the programs. Because you can copy video game discs for the PC, but an Xbox or PlayStation disc, it requires you to mod the system as well as try and hack everything in there, and it's a lot more complicated, so your typical person wouldn't waste the time to just buy the game.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I understand all sides of the whole argument for the always online DRM thing, and that's something that we've talked about on Off the Cuff before in the past. When SimCity came out earlier this year, we talked about it again and how just no one can get it right. But my wife and I are really enjoying the game. I haven't played it in a couple weeks because we've been super busy. But I just always felt, when I had it on the PC, like what was it, last year when it came out, I told myself, I said, this needs a controller, and I will visit it again when I can play it with a controller. And now I can play with a controller, and I'm actually really enjoying the game. So, do you see yourself when it hits like that $20, $30, $40 price tag picking it up? Or are you just kind of...
Once I see it hit probably, if it hits probably $30, I'll probably pick it up, because I did the same thing with Unreal Tournament 3. I actually my PC games I tend to spend full price on. My console games I tend to get them when they're older.
Why?
I don't understand the reasoning for that.
Okay.
It's just how I used to do things, and then I got the Xbox and it kind of flip-flop. Now I don't buy games at all for my PC. I just play what I have. I bought Unreal Tournament 3 when it came out, because I was a fan of Unreal Tournament, and then Unreal Tournament 2004, which I didn't even know. The first one I had was the Unreal Tournament was bootleg from one of my dad's friends back around 2000, and then 2004 I bought it, new at a KB toys store for $10, which they don't exist anymore. And then I bought Unreal Tournament 3 at Target for $60. And then I, promptly went through and beat it all on the PC. Well, Diablo 3 I also paid $60 for when it came out, or 50 or whatever it was for the PC.
It was 60.
I'm pretty sure it was. So I paid full price for it. I went and got it later in the week when it came out. And I've blitzed through that too and beat it and everything. But for the 360, I went and bought Unreal Tournament 3 used at a GameStop for $6.
Okay.
And it was a learning curve to begin with, because I was used to using the PC. I was a master sniper on Unreal Tournament 3 on my PC with the mouse because I had the precision of it. It took me about a week of playing the same maps I was used to so that I could, because I was really familiar with the map, so I was able to kind of hone my skills, being that I knew where to hide. So I think my sniper skills are about equal between the two now because I got it for the Xbox and because I learned how to use it with the controller. And that's pretty much the same aspect of Diablo 3. I learned how to play it with, even though it's the demo, it's the same gameplay. It's just, I find it easier with the controller than I do with the mouse and keyboard.
Plus, I think there's for me, console gaming is about getting that experience on the couch.
It's a lot more comfortable. You can kind of relax while you're playing, and so you're not like tense and hunched over.
And play longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can sit on I can play a game on my computer for, maybe 2 hours, and then I'm kind of like, I gotta get up. But if I'm playing on my couch, I can sit there for like 6-7 hours if I didn't have any reason to get up.
No, I say that, okay, now I know there are a number of people that probably have their gaming PCs hooked to their TV and they play with the controller and they can sit on the couch too. I'm just saying, it's nicer to play games from the couch.
That's why I love my Xbox 360.
So, let's see. Arkham Origins is coming up. I think I may actually pick that up as like my swan song to the current generation. Because I do like those games, but like we said on a couple episodes back, I do have my worries about it. I'm getting to that point where it's like I'm chomping at the bit. I need something to play. Because I've been kind of like in this. It's kind of made off the cuff, kind of hard to do because I've been in this holding pattern, kind of saving for my PlayStation 4, which is just about paid off, or buying new games and stuff like that. I have been playing a little Grand Theft Auto 5. But I've only been playing it with Joe from Off the Cuff. I've done like none of the main story. I've done only online play. We found this when you play online and you play with your friends, to make money you can one of the easiest ways you can make money is by robbing convenience stores. So what Joe and I tend to do is we just troll around. Every once in a while we'll do an actual online mission, but most of the time we're just robbing convenience stores. And one of the last times that we played, what we were doing is we got a helicopter and we went and landed the helicopter in the convenience store parking lot, ran inside, robbed it, ran back out to the helicopter and took off before the cops could come.
Nice.
And it was just, I don't know, it's just a lot of I have issues with the main game that aren't there in the online portion of it, because in the online portion of it you get to play it how you want to play the game, so you don't have to feel like an awful human being, unless you really want to. But that's I've been playing that. I've been playing War Thunder with Jason, which I've talked about at length on Off the Cuff, and I've told you about it a little bit. Have you been playing anything else?
I actually, a week ago, I went and bought, only because the price went down, finally. I bought the game used. It is Transformers Fall of Cybertron.
I have that, although I have it on the PS3, so you couldn't have borrowed it.
No.
What do you think?
I really love that game. I love the fact that you can upgrade the weapons. You can upgrade the gear, and it sticks with you, and you can upgrade components of the weapons. But you also have the like the deflector shield, or you can get the assist, or you can get the black hole weapon, which they're one-time use until you go back to a terminal to buy them. But I like the diversity of the characters you get to play, and not to spoil it too much, but if you haven't played it in the last year and a half, then it's been out a while. The end of it, you get to, like, the last chapter, because I think there's 13 chapters to the game. You get to flip-flop between characters, between Autobot, Decepticon, and its various characters within those. Some of them you get to play in earlier chapters, and some of them you didn't. But it rounds out by the end to where it leads right up into the cartoon.
Oh, cool.
That last chapter is directly dealing with what is shown before they crash land on Earth. And the whole game basically is showing them, because in War for Cybertron, they have the Dark Energon, they have the Autobots being taken, and then Prime decides, we're gonna ship off and leave Cybertron because it's a barren wasteland now. And then it continues in Fall of Cybertron to where they're trying to escape and actually go somewhere, and they actually get the coordinates for Earth from the Decepticons. So I love the aspect of the game and a lot of the battles. Certain characters I died quite a bit with because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but upon continuous play, I've mastered it pretty well. But I've played the game twice through now. Now that I actually have all the Energon picked up to buy stuff, my characters are pretty difficult to eradicate.
So wait, does it have a New Game Plus mode? Where you get to start with what you finished?
You can actually restart the campaign from any chapter you want once you've played it.
Oh, okay.
So if I want to start and play at chapter 10 all the way to the very end, I can do that, or I can go back to chapter 1. And all of your upgrades you've done through the entire game stay unlocked and purchased.
Okay.
And so it's really nice getting to do all that. I've got Megatron's fusion cannon activated, and I just have that upgraded to the gills, so when you fire it, it eradicates an entire section of people. So one-shot kill. Same thing with the sniper rifle, but some of them are not interchangeable. But I really enjoy that game, and I love the fact that you can change into whatever their vehicle mode is, and all the special abilities. Like Prime, you can do a strike force. Jazz, you can do a grappling hook. Starscream, you can go invisible. Grimlock, you turn into his dinosaur mode. So I mean, there's a lot of key features to each character that is prominent throughout the game. But yeah, it didn't take me very long. I think I had it 6 days and I beat it.
All right. I mean, I don't have Fall of Cybertron. I have War of Cybertron, and I think I got like halfway through and I started playing something else because I was playing a lot of games when I picked that up. Does it lead into Transformers Prime?
That is the consensus, is that War for Cybertron has aspects that were in Transformers Prime. Fall of Cybertron almost feels like it could be either way.
Okay.
It most definitely leads into the original Generation 1. That game does. But it continues from War for Cybertron, so it also technically leads into Transformers Prime. It's kind of strange, but I would more so equate it with its G1.
All right.
Based on the fact it has the Arc and the Nemesis, and they don't actually have those in Transformers Prime.
Okay. You been playing anything else?
No, that's pretty much all I've been playing since I bought it, but I am looking forward to Arkham Origins, and I'm probably going to wait until Black Friday and hopefully pick it up for $30.
Right. All right, well, if you guys want to hear more video game talk on a weekly basis, you can subscribe to Off the Cuff, either on geekcastradio.com or over on iTunes. Let us know what you think. Leave us a review, because we only have one. We would like more.
Yes.
Alter Geek would also like more reviews too. If you could let us know how we're doing. The more reviews we get, the more likely we are to actually show up on iTunes, and more people will find out about us.
Exactly.
So, I don't really have a good question for anybody this week. Maybe we'll let you guys off this week.
Unless you want to ask us questions that...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you guys want to ask us questions, we can answer them on the next episode, but I'm just saying we don't have to give them a homework assignment.
No.
No,
we give you 3 a week usually, so we'll give you this week off unless you would like to ask us a specific question or ask about something we maybe haven't mentioned on the show yet, being that this is the kind of general geeky show that can pretty much go anywhere.
Oh, real quick, books. Because, again, I wasn't on the last episode. I enjoy pretty much anything by Michael Crichton. My favorite one being Timeline. Also, kind of tipping my hat at kind of being a super, super geek and maybe a loser in some people's eyes. I really dug the Harry Potter books. But I'm pretty sure everyone's read those, or either they've decided that they're going to read them or not. So I can't really sell anybody on them. And I do enjoy the Dan Brown books, and I'm not saying that these guys are like the end all be all. They're the greatest stuff. I'm just saying these are books that I enjoy reading. So, Prey. I think my favorite Michael Crichton books are Prey, Timeline, and Airframe. Airframe being about like an airline crash, and Timeline is obviously it's if you saw the movie Timeline that came out in like 2003 and you liked it at all, the book, and I'm not kidding, this is one of the hardest things for me to say, the book is much better than the movie. There's a whole lot of science that they talk about and how they basically fax people through time.
Wow.
That is just amazing. It blew my mind, and they talk about all these crazy like theories about time travel, and one of them, the theory of time travel that they use in there is this, I can't remember what the exact name of it is, but the idea of it is any time that you are able to make a choice, a new universe is created. So what I mean by that is, just imagine you go, okay, let's say you stop at a convenience store on your way into work in the morning, okay? There's instantly there's a timeline created where you didn't go to the convenience store. But you're still in the timeline where you went into the convenience store. Now, you have all the choices of everything that's in there. There is a new universe where you made different selections that is playing out now.
Huh.
Like, that is the one that they subscribe to, and that time you jump sideways through time, not forward and backwards.
That's interesting.
So it's really cool. And then it has this medieval setting like the movie did. The book is actually kind of divided right in half. There's a dividing line where everyone is getting the tech explained to them, and then halfway through the book you end up in like this medieval setting with knights and fair ladies and all that stuff. And usually when I go to reread the book, I read the first half of it because it's all the tech and the science behind it, and then I don't read the last half of it. But I have read the entire thing. The other one is Prey, and that's about nanotechnology and nanoclouds. It's also a very interesting read, as are most of his stuff. But yeah, those are my 3 favorite books by him. But I just wanted to throw that in there.
Nice.
So if you guys have any questions for us for next week, or if we haven't answered a question that you've already asked and you want to make sure that we do answer it, Steve, how can they do that?
Well, they can call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. You can email us, feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the forums and the episode post at geekcastradio.com. You can visit the Facebook fan page by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can also contact us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio, #AlteredGeek. You can contact myself at SCP-21 and yours at Booth Ninja 81.
As always, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks. See you next time.